So welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and today we're going to talk about, I'm doing a couple shorts on them as well, but lawnmower tire issues, rototillers, what have you. Anything that's for your lawn and garden and you have tire issues, you want to watch this. And then we're going to talk about diagnosing a no spark on a trimmer. And then I wanted to talk a little bit more about what Randy had asked about compression. How much compression should we see on these engines? So stay tuned. So if you're having problems with your lawnmower tire going flat, and it's in the yard, things that you should and should not do. Things you should not do is use Fix-A-Flat or slime. Your mechanic is going to hate you. You're going to hate yourself if you use Fix-A-Flat and it still goes flat and it comes to our shop. There's no saving the rim or tire because you can't get it out and you can't tube it because it'll keep blowing the tube. A lot of times what we see is if a tire keeps going flat on us and you can't find the leak, it's the valve stem. And that's right here on this tire. You just take the cap off. And this is what we use for a tool. You simply insert it. Take the guts right out of it, which is the valve stem. And replace it with a new one. A lot of times what you can do to see if that is your little culprit, which a lot of times it is, guys will forget to put the cap back on it, it gets dirt in it, and then it quits functioning because it gets rusted up. So a lot of times that's what's going to fix your issue. And when I say don't use Fix-A-Flat or slime, that goes for spray foam too, folks. This guy tried spray foaming his tire so that it wouldn't go flat. Don't do this. Alright, so we're back and we're going to start with the trimmer. Now, a lot of times, and you guys that are watching YouTube and stuff, that a lot of these guys are telling you if you don't have any fire coming to your plug from your coil, that your coil's bad. And what I can tell you, in a lot of these handheld equipment and chainsaws included, but these guys are usually the culprit. Nothing to do with your spark plug and your coil. It's your on-off switch. They will fail. Eventually they will fail, especially if you use that a lot, like if you're a lawn care guy and stuff, that you're out there doing a lot of trimming, or if you got a big yard, around the house and stuff like that. But we need to know how to properly diagnose this if it's a no spark. And some of the ways we can do that is we can simply take this handle apart. See, the hard thing with this is there's no easy way, because with these things it's not so bad with the rewind back here versus here on the side, because you can pop this cover off fairly easy. But you will find that there's a 2-wire system that runs through here and comes up and it hooks into the coil, and what it does is when you shut it off, you're grounding the coil so it can't fire, if that makes sense. Now, a lot of times you may get, just from a lot of use, you may get this switch where it starts grounding all the time, or you start having problems with the button where if you flick it a couple times, all of a sudden now you can get it to run again. That's telling me that your switch is starting to go bad. And instead of waiting, why not just order a switch? It's not that big a deal to swap it out. I mean, you're going to have a little bit of work taking the plastic off. It's a pain in the backside. But if you come down here and you eliminate the switch, on the coil, there's this one small wire that comes and hooks into it, and that comes from the switch. Now, if you unplug that wire and you pull it over and you still don't have fire, don't replace the coil just yet, all right? The next thing is, how long has it sat? You know, if it's something you've been using right along and all of a sudden it quits working, that's one thing. But if it's sat in the woodshed, exposed to the elements all winter long, and you go to get it out in the spring, sometimes just simply backing the coil off and then taking some emery cloth and shining up the magneto on the flywheel where it comes around to give it the impulse. If that gets rusted up, or if the feelers on the coil get rusted up, it ends up getting either a dull or a no spark. And you go buy another coil and throw it on there. If the coil was the one that was rusted up and it wasn't the flywheel, all of a sudden, voila, now you got it working again, so it had to be the coil. Not so fast. If you clean those off and you're still getting a no spark, then we're down to, we need to order a coil for it. You know, but don't start here. Start here with the switch. You're going to have to take this plastic off, you know, get a nice clean dry space and just lay the stuff out as you take it off, so you know that's the order that it comes back in to be put back on. So I hope that helps you with the trimmers. And they're all basically alike. They're all a grounding system. Some actually have the off button where it clicks and holds, where a lot of your steels, you just hit it and it grounds it. All right. All right, and this is going to kind of answer Randy's question. What I find is if one of you have a question, good chances are so do some of you other ones have the same question and looking for an answer, but are afraid to ask. The only stupid question is the question that's not asked. If you don't know it or you're not sure, you know, ask. If I can't answer it, you got Jason here, you got Ed, you got Amos, Bob. I mean, there's so much knowledge in this channel with the people that are on it. So don't be afraid to ask, all right? Sometimes we chime in a little bit, but we're all here just to have a good time and to hang out together. It's like going to the restaurant and having coffee in the morning if you watch my weekday shows. All right, so what are we looking for when it comes to compression? In any of the lawn and garden stuff that you're going to encounter, 80 to 120 is probably the highest you'll ever see. But 80, it will run, okay? Not that great, but it will run. And if it's a system where it has to draw the fuel in based on the compression, like a lot of your weed eaters, chainsaws and that, 80 is close to, you know, where you're going to have issues. What we like to see in this shop is 90 or above. And that tells us at least what we're going to be doing with it. It should fire and it should run. And it probably could last, you know, the homeowner or you out there, the guy that is the homeowner trying to fix this stuff. So we have a compression gauge. With this kit, we have all these different fittings, and all these different fittings fit different size spark plug holes. And all we do is just take and thread it into the spark plug hole. We'll use this one for an example. We can thread that right onto there. We're going to thread this right into the spark plug hole. You don't need to go tightening on it, just get her snugged up. And then we're going to take and pop this on, all right? Now the key to doing this is with this hooked up to your machine. Now if you're trying to do a trimmer, chainsaw, anything, lawnmower, it's a push mower, anything that is pull start, I want you to at least full 4 strokes, full pullback. So do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then look at your compression. Because if you just do 1 or 2, it'll just start coming up. But if you do 4 or 5, it's going to come up and peak out. And that's what you want to know, is where that peak is for PSI. And that's pounds per square inch inside that jug for the piston and the rings to build the compression coming up. Now, if it's a lawnmower, riding lawnmower and electric start stuff, same thing. Thread it in, crank it over to what you think is about 20, 30 seconds, and then take a look at your gauge. If your gauge is reading 80 or below, there's a couple other things that you can do before you trash that engine and say it's no good. And one of the things that you need to do is, really, if it's got overhead valves, you really need to check the valve clearance on your intake and your exhaust valve. And that's cover on the front on most of your equipment. That's on your lawnmowers and stuff like that. Chainsaws, weed eaters, that stuff, it's either you have it or you don't have it. So hopefully that's helped. But yeah, don't throw the motor away if you've got like a riding lawnmower that's only getting like 75 or 60 PSI. Before we do that, we're going to jump over and check the valves. And we're going to check the clearance on the valves with the feeler gauge to see what clearance it has. And each engine, you can find that online pretty easy, of what the valve clearance is on each motor for the intake and the exhaust. If your valves are adjusted correctly and you're still not pulling above 80, that's the time to break the bad news to the customer. Or if you're the homeowner that has it, now's the time you got to think, do I rebuild it? Is it worth rebuilding? Or do I let it, park it out front and hope somebody grabs it and throws a few dollars at you? So on that note, you guys have a great day. And if you have any questions, put it in the comments. Like I say, we've got a good group of people in here that are very, very knowledgeable, and we're gaining them every day, guys. We're getting more repair shops signing up for this channel. And this channel has always been about you guys, not about me. I maybe have the pulley pulpit, but it's just to have an open dialogue with everybody and to feel comfortable with asking questions and getting good answers back. And the one thing is I'll tell you right now, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And it's my grandfather always used to tell me. And that is, I may have a particular way I go about doing stuff in a procedure. Jason could be totally different. But the end results are the same. So it's how you develop an action plan to get to the root of the problem and get it fixed. All right, guys. We'll catch you later.